Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinski's Tutorials. A bit different today from normal. This is the first time I've shown my face in a YouTube video. It's because this video is a bit different today. So in today's video I'm going to talk about some things I'd like to see improving in regards to iOS music production apps. So apps that you use to make music on iPad and iPhone in 2025. So I'm not going to actually name and shame devs who are not doing these things well, although I'd kind of really like to, to be honest. Instead, if I do mention devs, it's going to be ones that I think are doing some things well, right? So I'm going to mention 11 main things, and then the 12th thing I'm going to talk about is also something related that I think is really important for people to be reminded of. So these are not in any particular order, but the first one is a pretty important one actually in my view. So the first one is about UI design. So in my opinion, there are far too many iOS apps that have poor implementations of things like sliders and knobs and so on. Particularly when it comes to something like, say, oscillator frequency or filter frequency. I often find in apps that I need to try really hard to get the frequency that I want quickly and accurately. Sometimes it's almost impossible. I'm sorry, but that is not good enough. And it's one of the reasons I think this platform is not taken fully seriously by some people. So if you're going to make apps, please implement that well. Personally, I like it when the vertical axis is for coarser adjustments and the horizontal axis is for finer adjustments. An example of an app that does this well is Beep Street Combustor. Okay, number 2, the next thing that drives me really crazy is MPE implementation. Now, especially when an app says it's MPE and then you get it and you realize that the only thing about it that's MPE is per note pitch bend. That is not good enough. I think that if people have bought in the past apps that do implement MPE well, like for example Rolly Equator or Plasmonic by Rhizomatic, then most MPE apps they get, and this probably applies on desktop as well, but certainly on iOS, a lot of MPE implementations will be lacking in some way or the other. The main thing is a lot of them do not implement all 5 aspects of MPE expression. On iOS, Bliss Megalit is an example where all 5 of those are implemented, and it's pretty nicely done, I think. It's very easy to dial in MPE on Bliss Megalit. Only problem is, actually, that app is freezing for me at the moment, so I can't even use it properly. And I have reported that to Bliss, but I'm still waiting for a fix. I don't know if it's affecting other people. All right, the next point, number 3, this is a big one, I think. If you're making an app and you expect, people who are really into iOS music to actually use that app, then it generally should be an AUV3 app, right? So it can be used as a plugin, like on desktop people use VST and so on. People just complain massively when apps come out that only work standalone or that are using the older protocols like inter-app audio and stuff. It's just not as useful as AUV3. So really, yeah, this is just a no-brainer in general, I think. Number 4, and even, by the way, even if some people might say, well, no, I want it to be full screen. But for example, AUM, the app that I generally use as my host app, AUM now can give you full screen mode for apps. All right, number 4, a lot of apps come out a bit buggy, a bit half-baked. A lot of apps need better beta testing. Thing is, a lot of the time this is not really the fault of beta testers, in my opinion. It's the fault of developers for not getting good beta testers or not getting people who are really willing and able to put in the time. And sometimes you really might have to pay people, if you're going to expect them to do that. Sometimes people just add a few influencers and think that they're going to beta test it properly. But no, like I get added to a lot of betas for apps, but it doesn't mean that I've got time to test them all. If you're an influencer working in this niche, you're already drastically underpaid for the work that you're putting in. So, make sure you've got good beta testers, even 1 or 2 really excellent ones that you maybe pay, or at least give the app to them for free. Then another thing is, if developers are bringing out a beta, a lot of the time they don't have a manual or a video or something that people can get up to speed with the app quickly. If there's no manual and stuff, and if the app is complicated, you can basically guarantee that the beta testers will mostly not bother testing it properly. So, even just a little cheat sheet, it doesn't need to be a real big manual, but this will help apps to come out in better condition, having had more of a chance of being properly tested. All right, so number 6. Now this is a big one for me. It's lack of undo and redo, especially in apps that have randomizers. And randomizers are getting more popular, and that's great. I love randomizers. Everybody loves randomizers. But if you're going to have a randomizer, generally it's good to have undo and redo. And even without randomizers, undo and redo can be useful. And sometimes apps have have undo and redo, but it's not a good implementation. For example, only one action can be undone, or for example, maybe there's an undo button, but there's no redo button, So an example of an app with good undo and redo implementation would be FM Zone by Toybox. All right, 7. This is another thing I love to see, the ability to lock parameters so they will not be changed when you randomize or when you change presets. Audio Thing apps do that really well. This is a very useful thing to have. Number 8. So this is related to scales. Lots of MIDI apps don't offer custom scales. They all should, in my opinion. Sometimes MIDI apps just have a bunch of randomly plucked scales. I don't know where they've got them from. And it's just like, either you're going to have, all the different scales, and then you're going to need something like search bar, for example, so that people can actually find the scale. Or, just implement custom scale ability. Just have a little section where there's a little keyboard that people can tap in which notes they want in that scale. So GeoShred does this really well. It even allows you to specify different notes for the upwards and downwards part. And another good one for this is Note to Be by Jim Altsai. All right, number 9. This one, although it's kind of coming late in the list, it's a really big one. So one of the biggest problems for me with iOS apps these days is that so few really cater to the touchscreen at all. They just feel like plugins designed for desktop, laptop. They're designed to be used with a mouse. And I know there are a lot of reasons. Sometimes developers port apps from desktop, or iOS developers want their app to work on desktop, and so on. But it is disappointing, and I hear a lot of people complaining about this, that these days there aren't very many apps that really cater to the touchscreen, or that really feel like you're performing, in an interesting way with multi-touch and things like that. So there are, of course, some good apps in that regard, but mostly they're older ones, and usually they're not AUV3 apps. And I know also that is, that making an app AUV3 and making it an interesting touch experience is more challenging because of the resizing of AUV3s. But anyway, an example of an app that does this well would be Sequence by Yuri Turov. That, tapping in your notes and stuff there is just such a satisfying experience, and you feel like a musician doing that. When you have a MIDI app that's like making you sort of, pick a note for a step out of a kind of scrolling list or something, to me that is just a non-musical experience. Another example of an app that has a good touchscreen experience feel is Borderlands Granular. Okay, next one, number 10. A lot of apps do not resize well. Now, especially desktop apps, but even a fair few native iOS apps don't resize very well. So an example of an app that does would be FAC Physica. This just one example. Most of his recent apps have done that really well. And then point 11, I think that I'd love to see more apps containing envelope followers rather than just LFOs. So a lot of apps put in their own LFOs Generally, I think that's to make their app seem more interesting than it is, because what it's doing is not really all that interesting. So to make interesting presets, they need to stick a few LFOs in there that can actually like make it seem more interesting than it is. I think a good alternative would be to put in an inbuilt envelope follower. You know, if you might want something like the rate of tremolo to respond to the volume of the input signal. So another example there of an app that does that well would be Physica by FAC. And then the last thing I wanted to say, this is kind of my point 12. It's a little bit different, but it's like just first of all, to summarize what I said, you know, people need, like, iOS is an amazingly powerful and fun platform, but if you're a serious musician, things like not being able to dial in values accurately with knobs and stuff, this is really just seriously unacceptable, you know? So we need devs to step up and do things in the most professional way they can. But the other thing that I want to mention, kind of related to why I think this platform is not doing as well as it should be, is related to something that's very close to my own heart as a YouTuber in this space. So I've mentioned a few times, like in YouTube community, for example, or in comments on my videos or whatever, that a big thing for this platform is the fact that, and this is a negative thing, is that Apple dropped the affiliate program in 2017. So before 2017, people who were making YouTube videos, for example, or writing articles, reviews about iOS music apps, were able to put affiliate links where they would get 15% commission. And this was incredibly important. If you look back years ago, you had far more people doing YouTube in this space. Almost everyone stopped, or now does it very rarely, because there's so little money in it. This is a tiny, tiny niche, but it's a niche where, at least if you want to do things well, you can't just sit down and just talk rubbish, you know? Learning apps day after day, week after week, year after year, and making good quality videos on those apps takes much more time than most people realize. And so, because the niche is very small, people can't make enough from YouTube ad revenue. So I've mentioned before, for example, in my case, it depends really how many ads are in the video. But if you have a very short video which only has ads at the beginning and maybe at the end, and doesn't have any mid-roll ads, that video, for me, I would be getting about maybe £1.50 per 1,000 views of the video. That's not even per 1,000 ad views, that's per 1,000 views of the video. Look at the kind of views that that I get, and you know, although my channel is smaller than some other very big channels, I often get more views than those bigger channels. Like, nobody is getting good views in this niche because it's such a small niche. So, you know, also for like big music websites like Sound on Sound, or, you know, Music Radar or whatever, they have no incentive to do articles on iOS apps, because if they've got a space on their site and they're going to take the time, and it's also very hard for them, you know, to make money from ads. Like, it's really difficult to make money on the internet these days. Social media has sucked everything up. Everybody's just making free content. Why would Sound on Sound bother writing a review of an iOS app if they can't put an affiliate link? They can use that space to put an article on a desktop app and put an affiliate link that gives them a commission, you know? So, yeah, like, this is why if developers and app buyers want this scene to thrive, you know, if they want more people to know about it, and they want to guarantee that there's a good, diverse group of YouTubers regularly putting in the time and effort, you know, it takes so much work to build influence on platforms like YouTube. Even getting 1,000 subscribers, it is so hard to do. But like, you know, building up your viewership and maintaining it, you know, year after year, it's seriously just a huge amount of work. So if you don't want more YouTubers to disappear from this scene, and for the scene to be smaller and smaller, so that devs are earning less revenue and there's going to be just fewer apps coming out and the scene will kind of die in a way really over time, which I already feel it's kind of doing, it is super important that developers, especially, I feel, should be doing more to support. I know developers don't make a lot of money in this scene, but they make a hell of a lot more money than YouTubers do in general. We are so badly paid. So developers should be sponsoring more videos, and app buyers should also be doing what they can to support people like me or other YouTubers who you like. You know, Patreon, using affiliate links, giving donations or whatever from time to time. Likes and, you know, comments and everything is great if you really can't afford to support. But to be honest, in a niche like this, I find it hard to believe that more people could not be supporting, because this whole niche is about consumption, you know. Like almost all the YouTubers in this space are making app review videos, and it's all focused on buying apps. So we're helping developers to sell apps, and we're helping app buyers to make informed choices about apps, or we're helping them save time. You know, I read the manual so you don't have to, but it's becoming increasingly hard for me to justify continuing to do this without more support. I feel so strongly about this, and I know that other people in the space do as well. I feel like sometimes people just kind of keep on doing it because, again, like even when you get into YouTube, even the very journey to 1,000 subscribers, which is the minimum you need before you can get monetized, that is so hard. And when you start doing YouTube, it can be really rewarding and really addictive as well in some ways, and you can genuinely get a lot from it. But after doing it a certain number of years, I have to say there becomes a big opportunity cost, because like for me, for example, when I started this channel, I was learning so much, so even without making any money, that was kind of a good motivation for me. But over time, you find that like the reward for me in learning one app after another to make a video on it and then move on to the next app, that is giving me really, really diminishing returns. So yeah, I think this is a really important point. All right, so I hope you got some food for thought from this video, and I hope you enjoyed the different format for a change. I'm not planning to start showing my face in videos regularly. I think for app tutorials, there's generally no need whatsoever to see the face of the reviewer. But from time to time, maybe I'll make videos like this. So I hope you enjoyed it, and take care. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.